Hello, and welcome to this live stream on digital mail from public authorities. My name is Maija Hiitola, and I'm from Digital and Population Data Services Agency. If at any point during today's stream you have any questions, you can submit them by going to menti.com and using the code you see on screen, 84613337. Today we'll be going through various information on the change. So first of all, what is changing? Who does the change affect? What kind of messages are sent to Suomi.fi messages? You will see a video on how to start using Suomi.fi messages, and we'll talk about reading messages and returning back to paper mail if that is necessary to you. Also, we'll be going through how to act on behalf of someone else, a family member or another loved one, how to use Suomi.fi messages safely, and where to get help if you have any questions. So first of all, what will change on the 14th of April, so tomorrow, and who does that change affect? The legislation is changed. Starting tomorrow, the people who already use digital services by public authorities will receive letters sent by the authorities primarily digitally instead of paper mail. The digital letters will be sent to Suomi.fi messages, and Suomi.fi messages will not be activated for anyone automatically, but you will be prompted to activate the service yourself when you log in to a public authority's e-service. The change affects adults who identify themselves in authorities' online services. So if you use methods of strong authentication like bank ID or mobile ID and are over 18 years old, this change affects you. It affects only the person who is identifying themselves. So if you are acting on behalf of another person or a company, but you are identifying yourself with your own methods of strong identification using your own bank ID, for example, the change will only affect you and not the person you are acting on behalf of. Whenever you want or need, you can also change the message delivery method back to paper mail after you have first started using Suomi.fi messages. All you need to do is go to Suomi.fi messages, log in using your strong identification, so bank ID or mobile ID, for example, and change the delivery method back to paper mail. The change does not affect people who already use Suomi.fi messages. So if you have already activated the service, nothing will change for you, and you will be continuing to use the service as you have so far. It doesn't affect people who do not use digital services at all. So if you don't have any methods of strong identification, or you don't have any digital devices, this change will not affect you at all. You will be continuing to receive paper mail like before. Also, people who are under guardianship or they have a confirmed continuing power of attorney are not affected by this change. Minors under 18 years old and companies are not affected. So those people and companies can receive paper mail also in the future, but they can also activate Suomi.fi messages voluntarily if they want to. They are not automatically affected by the change, however. So what kind of messages can you receive in Suomi.fi messages? So you can receive decisions, invoices, and other messages, for example, messages related to appointments from, for example, Kela, Traficom. For example, Traficom can send the vehicle tax information to Suomi.fi messages. You can receive messages related to other tax information from the tax administration, messages from Digital and Population Data Services Agency, and also municipalities and well-being services counties. There are currently more than 400 different authorities who send various kinds of messages to Suomi.fi messages, and you can see all the organizations and services who send messages on the Suomi.fi website. So how do we activate Suomi.fi messages? You can go to suomi.fi/messages and activate the service. You can download the Suomi.fi mobile app. You can find it from Play Store for Android phones or App Store for iPhones or tablets. And you can also activate Suomi.fi messages while you are identifying yourself in one of the authorities' online services. So starting tomorrow, when you are identifying yourself, the Suomi.fi identification will prompt you to start using Suomi.fi messages. And after you have activated the service, you can continue using the online service where you were going in the first place. So now let's watch a short video on how that will happen starting tomorrow.
This is how Suomi.fi messages will be activated for you when you log into the web service of an authority. Suomi.fi messages will be activated for you when you log into an authority's web service starting on April 14th, 2026. Start strong identification with your chosen method. When you identify yourself, Suomi.fi messages will be activated for you with guidance. If you have already activated Suomi.fi messages before, you will continue to receive official mail in your mailbox as before. Select Get Started to activate Suomi.fi messages. Enter your email address. You will receive a verification code at the address you provided. Select the language for email notifications. Enter the verification code that you received in your email. Done. From now on, you will receive mail digitally from authorities in Suomi.fi messages instead of letters on paper. After the activation of Suomi.fi messages, you will continue to the web service that you were identifying yourself to. We also recommend installing the Suomi.fi application on your mobile phone. Remember to check your new mailbox.
All right. And after you have activated Suomi.fi messages for yourself, then how can you read the new messages that you receive? You can read messages on any device that has an internet connection. So you can use your internet browser and go to Suomi.fi messages and log in with your online banking credentials or mobile certificate or other token of strong identification. You can also use the Suomi.fi app. So you can download that on most mobile devices that have the Android, Google Play Store, or the App Store for iPhone. Whatever you do, just remember to turn on email and app notifications. So give your email address to receive email notifications on new messages that you receive and also unread messages. And if you enable app notifications, the app will also notify you of any new messages you receive. So if you use digital services, but can't or don't want to receive all official communications on digital mail, but would want to return to paper mail, you can do so whenever you want. After tomorrow, you can no longer ignore the prompt to start using Suomi.fi messages when you are identifying yourself to an authority's e-service, But after you have started using Suomi.fi messages, you can change the delivery method back to paper in the Suomi.fi messages settings in order to receive all letters from authorities on paper for 1 year. If after a year you are still using authorities' digital services, you will be prompted to start using Suomi.fi messages again. The activation will always happen in the same way, so even after a year, the service will not be activated for you automatically without you knowing about it, but you will be shown the activation process and prompted to go through it every time. Let's watch a short video on how to stop using Suomi.fi messages if you need to return to paper mail.
Stop using Suomi.fi messages in a browser. Here is how to stop using Suomi.fi messages. Open a web browser on your device. Go to suomi.fi/messages. Identify yourself using your own strong electronic identification method. Select the role Act as yourself. Next, we will stop using Suomi.fi messages. Select Settings in the side menu. Scroll down to find the message delivery method. Select Stop using Suomi.fi messages. Choose the reason why you cannot receive official messages electronically. Select the appropriate option and press Stop using Suomi.fi messages again. The service is now deactivated. You will receive your official messages on paper from now on. You no longer have Suomi.fi messages in use. If you sign into an authority's e-service with strong authentication after 365 days, you will be prompted to activate Suomi.fi messages again.
Okay, now let's go through how to use Suomi.fi messages safely, also if you are using the service on behalf of someone else. It's possible to use Suomi.fi messages on behalf of someone else, like a family member or a friend. You need to have authorization from the other person, and you can use Suomi.fi e-authorization service to ask for a mandate or to grant a mandate to someone else for using Suomi.fi messages. The e-authorization is like an electronic power of attorney. The other person chooses what they authorize you to do, such as, for example, only reading messages or also managing the electronic mailbox and deleting messages as well. The e-authorization mandate is quick to give, and it is the only possible way to use Suomi.fi messages on behalf of someone else. You are under no circumstances allowed to use Suomi.fi messages by borrowing another person's strong identification tokens like bank ID or mobile certificates, as that is illegal. So you can grant a mandate with Suomi.fi e-authorizations at home if you and the other person both have tokens of strong authentication. That's easiest to do by yourself at home. So if I wanted to ask for a mandate from someone else, I can apply for it and the other person can grant it. And mandate is effective immediately. And the person who grants the mandate can decide for how long it is active. If one of you doesn't have tools of strong authentication, you can fill in a form or book an appointment at Digital and Population Data Services Agency. So it is still possible to act on behalf of someone else, even if one of you doesn't have tokens of strong authentication. So it's important to remember when you are using Suomi.fi messages to take care of safety measures. So when, for example, you receive emails, you need to remember that the authorities do don't pressure you to rush. So we will never rush you to click a link or hand any personal information. And also Suomi.fi messages never send links to email. So it is safe to click links while you are signed into Suomi.fi messages, but don't click links that you receive in your email. If you receive an email that claims you have a new message in Suomi.fi messages and you want to make sure that it is authentic and not a scam, you should log into Suomi.fi messages or open the Suomi.fi application and see if there is a message for you. Never click any links in email. Also, if you want to go to Suomi.fi messages on the internet, enter the address in the address bar of the browser. Don't go through the service through search engine results. Suomi.fi doesn't send text messages or WhatsApp messages or other instant messages. We only ever send emails from the address noreply@suomi.fi. And if you need help or have any questions, if your questions concern the content of the message that you received, the proper person to answer that is the authority that sent the message. We at Suomi.fi cannot see the contents of your messages, only the sender of the message can answer those questions. But if you have questions about using Suomi.fi messages, we have a phone customer service advisory service on Suomi.fi services who you can call on weekdays, so Monday to Friday, between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on the number that you see on screen, so 0295 it's a free phone number. There is no charge for the call or the wait, but you can be charged the operator's local network, mobile phone, or other charge. So if you are using a phone subscription, check with your operator to see what numbers are included in your subscription. If necessary, calling Suomi.fi services advisory service, you can also be booked an appointment if you need to come physically to the offices of DVV, but it's rarely necessarily. Usually you can be helped on the phone. We also have instructions for using Suomi.fi messages that you can find at Suomi.fi, and also many providers of general digital support can answer the most common questions related to using Suomi.fi messages or your digital devices. And now let's answer some questions that you have sent us.
Right. Good afternoon. I am Olli Kauppila, also from the Digital and Population Data Services Agency. Maija will now join me on stage to answer some questions from the audience. First of all, good presentation, Maija.
Thanks.
Okay, so the first question is, you talked about the legislation change and how it affects messages sent by public authorities. What do we mean by public authorities exactly?
So public authorities include state authorities like tax or police or enforcement agency or DVV. Public authorities also include municipalities, so like your local school authority or building permit authority, and they include well-being service counties, so your local healthcare officials.
Thank you. Do I have to call or do something else beforehand to keep receiving paper mail in the future?
No, if you want to keep receiving paper mail, you don't need to do anything beforehand. If you don't use digital services at all, then you don't need to do anything at all. You will keep receiving paper mail in the future as well. If you use digital services and Suomi.fi messages is activated for you, then you can deactivate it yourself at home. You don't necessarily need to call us, although our phone service will of course help you if you need help.
Okay, what if I want to go back to receiving paper mail from public authorities, will I have to pay for those paper letters in the future?
No. Official letters from public authorities are free of charge, and they will continue to be so.
Good to know. And then what kind of security measures does Suomi.fi messages have?
Suomi.fi messages has a security certificate, and the service is regularly audited by independent parties outside the DVV. From the user's perspective, the access to the service requires strong authentication, and the security is ensured by Suomi.fi e-identification and providers of your identification tool, so the banks, for example.
Thank you. That seems to be all the questions for today. I'll give it a few more seconds, see if we get any more. Seems that's all for today. So that's all the questions. I guess that's time to end this webinar then. Thank you so much, Maija.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching as well. And have a great rest of your day.